All right, welcome back, fellow scientists. So here we are on Wednesday morning. If you'll remember yesterday, we put our poor little, what did second period call theirs? Henry George Egbert, I think. I'm probably totally off. I think the George is right. I forget Ethan because you gave us the first name. Gary George? No, I don't think it was two G's. Anyways, I digress. So we'll just call him Egbert. We'll just go by his last name. So we put Egbert in vinegar, second period, and we put Egbert in vinegar, sixth period. Sixth period, if you guys remember, I kind of dropped it in there a little hard, and I thought it cracked, and it actually turns out. Check this out. We'll pour the vinegar off into our little waste bucket right here. It actually turns out. You guys can see it did. Oop! Now I got vinegar on my keyboard. It actually did kind of crack, but also look at this. It's all squishy, right? The shell all dissolved, and so that's exactly what we expected or what we hoped would happen. Second period, yours performed similarly. All right, so we empty it into the waste bucket here, and so here we have our. Oh, I almost dropped it. we have our nice squishy egg right here with the shell totally gone. So anyways, maybe you can see. Oh yeah, there we go. That's a much better view. Yep, just like that. See, so squishy egg, no more shell. So then that goes back in there. So you can see up behind me that we have our sheet that we wrote down. So this is second period. We called it eggmosis, right? And then sixth period. I do things a little differently just to kind of mix things up and make sure that I don't get too bored. We called ours the egg experiment, right? So take out your sheet and then hopefully you wrote down a hypothesis, right? So write down the thing that we just did for this experiment was we just took data, right? So write down data. In fact, here we go. I'll get vinegar on the markers, that's okay. So data, right? Data number one equals shell dissolved. Right, and that should make sense because you guys remember from chapter 2 that when we were talking about water, we were talking about pH, and we realized that vinegar is a weak acid, and so that's going to dissolve things, and it's going to kind of it's going to introduce hydrogen ions to it, and that's going to break up the calcium, and it's going to bind with calcium ions and make the little bubbles and everything like that. So that should come as no surprise. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do our experiment number 2, right? And you guys have probably all done this before, so you know what's coming. At least hopefully you know what's coming. Experiment number 2, we're going to do our egg minus the shell. Right, plus corn syrup, SYRUP syrup. Let me check. SYRUP. Yep, there it is. Corn syrup. All right. Oh, I forgot to kind of tell you why we're doing this. Okay. So we have here an egg without a shell. Right. We're talking about how things enter and leave the cell. Right, and so eggs are one cell, right? It doesn't matter whether you're talking about a chicken egg or a human egg or an ostrich egg or a frog egg, right? Eggs are one cell, right? And so here we have one cell that we can see, and it has a flexible outer covering that we would call a membrane, right? And there's no barrier, there's no shell to kind of impede things moving in and out of the cell. So we're gonna investigate how the cell's environment changes what moves into and what moves out of the cell. So we're gonna take our two Egberts right here, and we are going to. Oh, this is a brand new bottle, so it still has the seal on it. Bear with me. Aha. There we go. All right. Perfect. So here, let's kind of tilt this down so you guys can see. All right, so experiment number 2, egg minus the shell plus the corn syrup. So now we're just going to take our corn syrup and we're just going to drown poor little Gary George Egbert in it. And then here, same thing. Take our corn syrup and drown poor little Egbert. No, not the corn syrup. Ah! Right, just like that. Perfect. All right, sweet. So now that we have that, we're gonna let that set, and we'll come back and we'll investigate that. We'll take data on that on Friday. So what I'd like you to do, I would like you to, on your piece of paper that you have, I'd like you to write down hypothesis. Hypothesis number 2. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen? Is the shell going to magically reappear, and now the egg is going to have a candy shell that is nutritious and delicious, right? Is it going to change color? Is the sugar going to go into the egg, and then when we cook the egg, then it'll be sweeter? What's your hypothesis? What do you think? So write that down, and then we'll talk about that. We'll come back on Friday. So this has been Mr. Leo. This is what we're doing for Remote Day. Also work on your review guide for Remote Day. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the flip side.